very
Thanks, Sean.
much. Thank you. And thanks to everyone who's attending. We appreciate having your time today. What we wanted to cover is an overview of our mainframe virtual tape solution known as ZVT. My name's Sean Seitz with Optica Technologies. I have the technical services group. So I have the smart guys that cover the technical spectrum from pre-sales to implementation of our solutions and through traditional support, as well as our testing lab. And with me today, I have Serge Rioux. Serge is a senior systems engineer, and Serge also manages our test and integration lab. So Serge is going to have a role here on the second half of the charts. I believe we have about 25 minutes, and so we're going to go relatively quickly. By way of an agenda, let me go ahead and go into slideshow mode here. I think I have to swap my screen. Let's see. Okay, I think you guys are hopefully seeing the full presentation mode here. By way of an agenda, we want to give you a quick familiarity with Optica if you're not already. I want to give you an overview of our ZVT family of virtual tape solutions. I think we have an industry unique set of models that are just that, unique to the industry. So hopefully you find it interesting. We in particular cater to the VM VSE community. We have a large installed base with VM VSE customers in Europe and the United States. So we're anxious to share some of that information with you. We have what I believe is the industry's most flexible set of replication options. So I'm going to review that for you. I'm going to hand it over to Serge at that point, and Serge is going to talk to you about our test and integration lab, our investment in the VM VSE community, specifically our integration with VSE tape management systems and all the supporting utilities that we offer to make things seamless as VSE users with the tape management systems that are available in the industry. And then Serge is going to walk you through some of the interesting features of our GUI as well. Hopefully we have enough time at the end for some questions. All right. So by way of a quick background, I think most of you are familiar with Optica. We've been in business for 53 years, the last 30 of which we've been focused on mainframe only, mainframe solutions only for over 30 years of our 53. We became a strategic partner of IBM Z's in 2002 when we were asked and contracted with IBM Z to produce channel protocol converters when IBM exited the business. So you're probably familiar with Optica if you are, because of our channel converters. First was SCON to bus tag, then was FICON to SCON, and then FICON to bus and tag. Believe it or not, we still sell those products today. There still is demand for those channel converters. We have hundreds under active maintenance globally. So that if you were able to avoid channel conversion products from Optica, you were doing very well as you modernized your Z environment. But it was a logical next step for us to get into the virtual tape space. We were very familiar with tape as that was what connected to our converters most of the time, virtual tape and devices that emulated tape. So we developed tape emulation. We had every tape system in our lab because of our conversion product. Great logical next step for us to just go into the virtual tape space. We also had the encouragement and support of IBM Z to do so, recognizing there was a place in the ecosystem for another provider to address all of the operating systems from the smallest needs to the largest. So that's what we do with our product. We have a very big commitment, as Serge is going to share with you, in our lab and all of the products in our lab to ensure that we have interoperability with our virtual tape system. And the ZVT product family was announced in January of 2015, and we announced our second generation of the ZVT solution in May of 2018. So there are 3 models in the family, and I'm going to go over these quickly. The iNAS system is our flagship product, starting at the top. It's the most modular, scalable, and fully featured product in the industry, we feel. Starts on the smallest at 24 terabytes usable and scales to multi-petabyte. It can be designed with a high availability architecture, has the very powerful data resiliency technology. It also offers WAN optimized replication, meaning the product uses data deduplication, and that makes the WAN optimized replication very efficient. It's only going to replicate deduplicated data that is new each time a replication session kicks off. So that's a very powerful feature on the iNAS. The 5000 Flex is unique in that it offers the ability for the customer to leverage their own open system storage with our virtual tape engine. So any fiber channel attached or NFS attached storage that the customer has and they want to leverage for their mainframe virtual tape app, you can use it with our 5000 Flex virtual tape engine. Many customers have taken advantage of this. It's not for everybody, but if you have that investment strategically in Open Systems Disk, you have extra capacity, you may already have replication infrastructure set up that you can leverage. This could be a very economical choice for you to bring in the ZVT Flex system to leverage that capacity and that infrastructure that you already have. The 3000i finally is what we would consider our entry level. It is a all-in-one 2U appliance. You can have 3 capacity sizes in the 3000i, 8 terabyte, 16 terabyte, and 24 terabytes of capacity. Those are usable specifications. So if you consider compression, hardware compression, you're talking about effective capacity of 32 terabytes, 64 terabytes, and 96 terabytes. So you can actually cover quite a bit of capacity with our 3000i. It's a very nice solution to replace physical tape and older virtual tape systems. And of course, all 3 of these models are compatible with all of the operating systems, in particular VM and VSE. A little bit more about the virtual tape node. The VTN that we call it the VTN, which is virtual tape node. It is the consistent technology across all 3 of those models I just showed you. So it's going to be the same VTN technology regardless of the model you select. Each VTN offers 2 FICON interfaces. You can license the number of tape drives that is sufficient for your requirement, 16, 64, or 256 with every system. The storage connectivity I just reviewed is going to vary by model. So the iNAS has the integrated 10 gig NFS intelligent storage in our system. The Flex model is your own storage, which can be 10 gig or 1 gig NFS, and it can, or 8 gig fiber channel. And then finally, the 3000i, of course, is internal RAID storage that we talked about. We emulate the 3490 or 3590 or both at the same time. So we're very flexible on drive emulation. As far as user management, we have a very interesting and efficient GUI, and Serge is going to show you some screenshots from the GUI and talk to you about some of the GUI functionality. Anything you can do in the GUI, you can do via CLI or JCL if you prefer. Hardware compression is standard, as I mentioned, in every model. We get about 1,000 megabytes a second of throughput per virtual tape node, so we don't throttle performance or license performance. It's straight out about, somewhere, obviously mileage is going to vary, but roughly 1,000 megabytes per virtual tape node. So depending on how your system is architected, in this case, the picture shows 4 VTNs in an iNAS system. You would expect to achieve about 4,000 megabytes a second in that system on the right there. We also offer multi-level data integrity checking. This is a peace of mind feature for you, the customer. If you have archive data on your system, for example, you can set up a check that runs in the background on a schedule, and it will compare the data to the original CRC that we stored from the mainframe when we wrote the tape. So you can verify that your data remains good and that you're going to be able to read it when you need it. So there's different modes and different ways you can set up that integrity checking. But that, again, is for peace of mind for you, the customer, that the data is always going to be good when you need it. I'm going to talk about replication options in a little bit, in the next slide, actually. And so I'm going to save that. We have a hostless migration engine that's brand new. And what that means is just what it says. We can migrate you from your legacy tape environment, whether it's physical or virtual, to the ZVT without any connectivity to the mainframe. So in this case, the ZVT appliance emulates host channels. We attach via FICON to the source system, and we can import tapes without any I/O from the mainframe at all. And then final point to make is we use a non-proprietary file format, an AWS industry standard file format. It's your data. A lot of our competition uses proprietary file formats. Our sense is it's your data. You need to be able to access your data at any time in the future, regardless of whether you still have a ZVT engine or not. So we feel that's an important feature to offer our customers. Okay, replication options. Like I mentioned in the outset, we feel like we have the most flexible, broadest range of options relative to replication. There's two different types, what we call VTN replication, where the intelligence and the license resides on the virtual tape node. And because it resides on the virtual tape node, it's available on all three of our models. So you can have VTN replication on the 3000i, the Flex, or the iNAS system. And the VTN replication can go between VTNs, as a traditional setup might be prod and DR. It can also go to a cloud gateway. We have many customers taking advantage of that where they use a third-party cloud provider. And as long as the gateway provides an NFS mount, you can attach a cloud gateway to the ZVT, and based on replication sessions that you configure, you can move select tapes, all-seer ranges, or complete libraries out to the cloud with VTN replication. You can also set it up as a what you might consider a vault. You could put any NFS attached storage without a ZVT engine in any location and replicate data to it. So you could set up a tertiary copy, a third copy somewhere if you want, using VTN replication. There are synchronous options and asynchronous options. Asynchronously, you can do it by vol-seer or vol-seer range in the background, or you can also do it by complete library in the background. And then synchronously, that would be used selectively because it is going to impact the job time or the performance of the job if you use synchronous replication. So most of our customers do not use it, but it is available if you want to do any of your replication synchronously. And then by contrast, ISN replication is done between intelligent storage nodes. ISN stands for Intelligent Storage Node, which is a component of our 5000 iNAS. So ISN replication is only available in the iNAS model. And the beauty and advantage of ISN replication, as I mentioned before, is it is WAN optimized. So only changed deduplicated data is going to be transmitted every time you have a scheduled replication job. So if you have a low bandwidth link between locations, it's a very efficient means for replication. So you have some options relative to replication depending on the model that you're investing in. Okay, I want to turn it over to Serge at this stage, and let Serge talk to you about a little bit more about our commitment to the VM VSE community, as well as show you some of the features of our GUI as well. So Serge, I'm going to turn it to you.
Thank you, Sean. As you mentioned, we have invested greatly into our lab. So we have a test and development lab. We have our own Z system running ZOS multiple versions, VSE, VM. This is what we use for our testing integration. We've partnership with all the leaders in tape management systems, from IBM, SVA, which is a German partner, CSI International, CA, IDP, FDR, mostly in ZOS side for IDP and FDR. And what we have is full support for VSE environment with the ZVT. We support all 4 of those tape management systems. And if we come across a new one or something, we can help our customers create utilities or help them integrate the ZVT in their environment. Yeah, so we've worked with CSI International and their BIM Epic tape management system. We're fully integrated with BIM Epic, so there is no need to have an exit of any kind or a console monitor or something like that. So BIM Epic fully integrated. If you scratch a tape in your catalog, it will automatically get scratched on the ZVT as well. SVA BVS only use data tapes and they manage their own process. So, but we're fully integrated and tested with BVS as well. For CA DynamT, CA Epic, we provide a regular set of tools to integrate with those two. We have a full set of utilities allowing us to use JCL for management. As Sean mentioned, You can run the ZVT from the GUI, but if you want, you can also, through JCL and the use of what we call the command tape, send commands directly from your ZOS or VSE environment to the ZVT. So if you were to add new tapes, you could create a new policy, a new tape range from JCL, as opposed to having to go to the ZVT GUI and do that. And we also have utilities customized for each tape management system. We have generic ones. The generic utilities, ZVT mount is a utility that we provide to just mount a tape. We use a standard load display for that mount utility, so you can even use that for an old, well, it wouldn't be mounting the tape on an old tape drive, but it would tell the operator if you wanted to through the load display. So we just use a standard load display for ZVT mount. ZVT maint allows you to do some maintenance on the ZVT if for some reason your catalog is a little bit out of sync, or you wanted to retain a tape. You could do that with ZVT maint. It allows you to find tapes. So if you're looking for a specific velocity, you get a command in ZVT maint that allows you to look for a tape. You can scratch or retain a tape. You can delete tapes. Of course, you cannot delete a tape unless it's already scratched, but a little safety there. And the ZVT command utility is what we use to read and write the data to the command tapes. So these utilities are provided with every environment. And then we have the specific TMS utilities, which are built for each one of the tape management systems. So we have CA Epic, DynMT we provide, for both CA Epic and DynMT, we provide what we call the sync utility. So when you scratch a tape in your tape management system, you run the utility and it will send a command to scratch the volume on the ZVT as well, without having to run any other report processing or whatever. We go directly to the catalog in both Epic and DynMT and send the commands to the ZVT to synchronize with the catalog. We also provide the DynMT exit, which is very flexible. We have support for owner IDs, tape pools, etc. And for the environments that do not use that, we also have a console monitor that will just go and monitor the console for mount messages and act upon those messages. The important thing here as well is we provide source code for all the utilities. Like Sean mentioned earlier, we try to keep our system as open and flexible to our customers. So we provide the source code for all those utilities, and if you wish to modify them for your own purpose, you are free to do that. From the GUI perspective, when you log on to the GUI, when you connect to it's a browser-based user interface, so you will get to this landing page there, which actually shows you on the top level the 3 buttons: management, maintenance, and status. And when you select one of those, the buttons on the left side will actually change depending on which one of the pages you're on. From a configuration perspective, it's very easy to configure a ZVT. It's basically done from the top, from the network, which is where you would configure access from your corporate network to the ZVT. And then you just go down, user account, time and date, device, mount points, libraries, etc. So you just work down that list from the buttons on the left side to configure the unit. It's very straightforward, very easy to do. And there's no need to, if you add devices, for instance, to reboot anything or restart anything. The second your devices are added, if your chipids are online and ready, you can vary those devices online. The next key thing for the ZVT is the libraries. And Sean, if you want to move forward, there you go, thank you. The way the libraries work is basically a way to separate the tapes in groups and allow you to, for instance, if you have a production and a test system, to separate those tapes so they don't, people from production won't use tests, or mostly people from the test environment won't use your production tapes. Anyway, so we segregate those in libraries, and for each library, there is a set of devices associated to it, and only those devices have access to those tapes. So it's a very easy way if you have multiple systems, VM, VSEs, multiple VSE systems, multiple LPARs, to allocate a group of devices for one LPAR and a library to it, so your system can basically be completely isolated if you wish. And the next thing from a library perspective that you can do is a group of actions you can perform. Oh, a little too quick there, Sean, thank you. On the library. So the first one's the tape management, which is a very good way for smaller customer VSE, VM environments where you don't necessarily have a tape management system. This is basically becoming your tape management. And the rest, the other two is like I was mentioning earlier, you can add a policy or list the policies that are in your system. And if you have a tape that stayed mounted, or if you manually mounted a tape and you want to unmount it, you can do it from here, from that drop-down list on that specific library. So if we go to the tape management, basically what we show here, there are over 40 fields that we get both from the system and from the tape itself. So we get vol1, header 1, and header 2 from the tape. We grab all that information and we put it in the database for you, which that basically allows you to, as you see here, you can see which dataset name was written, when it was created, when it was last modified, which job created the tape, and so on and so forth. So 43 fields to select from. And from the libraries, you can create your own views if you want. The view that we see here is an admin view, so you basically would have to scroll to the right to see all the fields, but you can customize these views as well. You could just have the vols here, the dataset name, the job name, and the file size if you wanted. These are all customizable. But the advantage of this is it allows you to find and see what tapes you have, which tapes are in a data state or a scratch state. And it's a very powerful search engine. If you look at the top left part of that screen here, it's basically an SQL database, and we give you 3 selection criteria. You can pick any one of the 40 plus fields and search on those to pinpoint your search to a tape or a group of volumes that you would want to look for. And that is also used for replication. That same screen, that same database allows us to monitor. Basically, it's a live monitoring of your replication. If you had, for instance, replication set to be asynchronous, as soon as the job is finished and the tape gets unloaded, we start the replication. So in this view here, that would allow you to see, for instance, in that one here, we show a background replication. Background replication is done on a per library as opposed to per volume, but you could set the fields to be asynchronous replications instead. But basically what you would see here is if you had a tape migrating, it would show in progress. In queue, if it's in queue to be migrated, we have up to 8 threads running at once, so you can have up to 8 tape migrating at once. And the rest will just be in queue and be added as they go along. If there was any issue, you lose your replication link or something, that would show as failed. And once the link is recovered, anything that's failed will automatically been re-queued the next hour to restart replication again. If the field is blank, that means it's basically replicated, and you can see on the next field beside it the replication date. So that's the date when the tape was last replicated. So you could also verify there that your tape was replicated at the right date and time. And this is the next thing is the alerts. I mean, we're just kind of zooming through this here, but so just to show you, you can actually set different alerts, either SNMP or email. Most people today use email, and decide what you want to be notified on. If you have IO errors on the storage, selective resets, or link errors, things of that nature, you can select what type of traps you would like to receive, and then you just configure the recipients. The mail to can be a long list of users separated by comma if you want to notify, or a group if you want to notify a group of people. And this is it. I will turn it back to Sean.
Thank you, Serge. Appreciate that very much. I don't know if we have a few minutes for questions or how we're doing questions, if we're doing them online or following up later or doing them live, but we're happy to take any questions that if there are any.
Yeah, Sean, we'll take them off the floor. So if anybody has a question for the Optica group, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
I do see one in the chat box here from Carlos. Would it be appropriate to read the question and go from
Sure.
there? Okay. Sure. It says, I missed the part about capacity limit and growing. What are the limits? And can I use other storage or only the storage supplied by ZVT? Two great questions from Carlos there. So we have three models, Carlos, and the capacity starts at the small low end in our 3009 model at 8 terabytes usable and can grow within the 3000i to 24 terabytes of usable. That's before compression, so the effective capacity is about 4 times that. And then on our 5000 INAS model, it scales to very, very large, multi-petabyte capacity. So we cover the full range. And then your second part of your question is, can you use other storage other than what's supplied in ZVT? And the answer is yes, you can. The Flex model is designed for that very purpose. It allows you, the customer, to leverage your own open system storage as the repository for your mainframe virtual tapes. So that would, the Flex system is the engine attached to the mainframe, and then you can attach your own storage behind it and serves as the repository. So very good questions there. Can we answer any other questions?
Hey, Sean, this is Ken Ripple. How are you?
Hi, Ken.
Replication to cloud providers like AWS Storage Gateway. You support that?
Yes, sir. Yep. We absolutely do. We have customers doing that today. So we will support attachment to any third-party gateway that has an NFS mount. So that's all the ZVT requires. And if your gateway has an NFS mount, you mount it to the ZVT and set up replication sessions, scheduled replication sessions to move your data to the cloud. So we do support that, and we have many customers doing that, just that very thing, actually.
Okay, perfect.
Got a couple minutes. Anyone else? Sean, thank you and Serge very much for your presentation. Always great to have you guys on board as sponsors, and we appreciate it very much.
It's our pleasure, and thanks to everyone for their time.